Okay, let's talk about Nightbearers. So far in Nightreign, we have 8 playable characters in total, and each of them had their own unique strengths and weaknesses. In similar fashion to RPG games, we have certain roles such as the tank, mage, and knight, each with a special ability to help them do their own roles in the game. Guardian and Raider are obviously tanks with their ability to soak up damage, and the lesser known ones are Revenant and Executor, who can also tank damage in their own unique ways. The rest of the Nightbearers skills are damage based, and one of them in particular is who we'll be talking about today, because despite the fact that he's the most played character, I still see a lot of random teammates that don't utilize the ability to the fullest. With about 230 hours in Nightreign and 70 games played as Ironeye, I can't help but notice that sometimes other Ironeye players make the same mistake that I used to make when I started the game. And I hope that this video can teach some of you guys the tips and tricks that I learned and finally beat that one boss you've been struggling on. Have you ever played Elden Ring and thought, wow, bow builds kinda suck? Because you'd be right, bows in Elden Ring don't really do well because you shoot slow, you're impervious to attacks, and you have limited arrows per fight because you can only carry 99 of them at a time. Though unless you're using a spear dash or summoning other players to keep the aggro off of you, it just doesn't do a good job. But in Nightreign, that changed completely with the character Ironeye. FromSoft has finally given us the ability to fight like Legolas, and it's really great. Ironeye is no doubt one of the top characters to support your team in Nightreign. He has the range, the damage, and the kit to revive your teammates in battle. Most people know about his marking ability giving you iframes so you can dodge enemy attacks mid-swing, and you can also use the same ability to change directions mid-slash and use it in the air to gain more distance. The more unknown abilities Ironeye have is that his heavy attacks allow him to shoot 3 arrows at once. This works for short bows and longbows, but sadly nothing new for crossbows and great bows yet. One exception is General Radahn's Lion Great Bow, which will knock 3 arrows, but will actually fire 5 to 6 arrows when shot. This ability is actually a really great tool for dealing more poise damage, but sadly, I haven't seen many Ironeyes utilizing it. Do be aware, however, that this ability is usually only useful for big targets, as it will miss human-sized enemies even at close range. There is also one ability that Ironeye can do, which is pressing dodge right before shooting a heavy attack, and that will make you do a jump back before actually shooting the arrows. But it's not that effective in most cases, and it hurts my fingers to try and do this consecutively, so I wouldn't recommend doing it. Now, most of the Ironeye players I see in my team usually stands pretty far away from the enemy and spams their normal attack until the enemy looks like a porcupine, and this is great. You're dealing constant damage and you're fighting badly to your teammate. But you can do so much more. Not talking about the mark ability. This ability is actually the best part about Ironeye, but surprisingly, a good chunk of players don't use it as often. When used on an enemy, an X will appear on their body and they will now take 10% extra damage from all sources. And that means your teammates too. And if that wasn't already a huge buff, doing enough damage before the mark actually disappears will do a chunk of damage and also stagger the enemy. This can potentially lead to a double stagger where you poise break a boss, deal heavy blows in the get up animation, and then the broken mark gets enough damage to poise break them again. Also, in the recent update, they made it so that the closer you are to breaking the mark, the darker the color it gets. So it's a nice indicator in battle for knowing if you're close to getting a stagger animation to set up for new attacks. So if you're playing Ironeye, there's no reason why you shouldn't be applying this X mark on every single boss. I usually run my Ironeye with a relic that gives you an extra charge so that I can mark my enemies more frequently. Sometimes the boss just moves right when you're about to mark them. If you do miss, then you're missing out on a lot of damage for the next 10 seconds. So having a backup skill really changes the way that you play Ironeye. Here are my relics in case any of you guys were wondering. Now, this is a tip that can apply to every Nightfarer, but for Ironeye players specifically, if you're being targeted by a boss, you should focus on evasion first before doing damage. It's a running joke that Ironeye players always get the boss's aggro and the other teammates have to chase the boss down as he runs away. But too many of you guys insist on attacking back even if the boss is breathing right on your neck. It's okay to dodge and look for a better timing to re-engage for boss fights. Honestly, this is the reason why the Bellbearing Hunter is such a fearsome boss. Everyone wants to pack as much damage as possible in such a short time that they forget about their own well-being and then lose the fight completely. Also, remember how I talked about how Ironeye can shoot 3 arrows at once? Well, this is actually great for revives too. Just get in there and shoot right on top of their body. Same for when the other players are reposting human-sized bosses. I think that the people that say Ironeye's playstyle is boring probably think that the only gameplay for him is just to apply the mark and shoot from a safe distance, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You can play any Nightfarer in any way you want, as long as you have fun, but trying out new and unconventional ways can make the game more refreshing, especially if you've grown tired of a certain character. You can get as aggressive as you want to, and the payoff is immense when you just go right up to an enemy and treat your bow pretty much like a shotgun. My favorite thing to do as Ironeye is just going up to a boss, apply the mark, and just start spamming the heavy attack, provided that I don't get hit out of it. And once you really get into it, you'll start adopting more of an aggressive playstyle and going for those sweet stance breaks that will melt the boss's HP. Another fun thing to do as Ironeye is that it doesn't have to be played with a bow. Now I know that sounds pretty silly considering that he excels with bows, but since he has an A scale in dexterity, you can run a melee build with either katanas, curved swords, or twin blades and still get a lot of value out of them. In this particular run, I found the Iokai's Dancing Blade and absolutely shredded bosses with the Ash of War. But the main point of this video is really a desperate plea from the other Nightbearers who can't communicate directly with each other because there's no voice chat in Nightreign. Time is extremely precious in Nightreign, as everyone knows. Teammates are always search sprinting, marking areas of interest, and going for the most optimal route to save time on their run. The boss fight can turn really ugly if you don't take it down fast enough, from a lack of flasks, or just an unlucky AoE attack. It can feel absolutely awful losing the Night Lord boss fight because your team lost so much time fighting a field boss on the way there, and no one wants a boss run back that takes 40 minutes. So Ironeye players, I beg you to use your mark on enemies so we don't have to spend another 3 minutes on the Death Ray bird. The team will all sincerely thank you for it.